So we'll get started with the shotgun style mock check ride here. So when you show up for the check ride, first thing we're going to do is qualify you as applicant. So what documents do you need?
I need my government ID, my medical, and my commercial pilot certificate.
Okay. What else would you do to ensure that you're ready to fly today?
I would go through the I'm safe checklist, check the weather and craft, all that fun stuff. And then like the legal stuff, I would look at the aircraft documents, inspections are all up to date.
Okay. All right. Can you fly if your outside air temperature gauge is inoperative?
Yeah, I can. I'd have to go through the whole 91, 205 process, 203, 213.
Okay. What about if the stall horn was inoperative?
It would be good. I would, yeah, just double check 80s and mainly 80s and my personal minimums if it qualifies through that. But my personal minimums say no.
Okay, that is the right answer to not fly with that one. That is actually it's a little bit of a sneaky question. It's
Ooh.
on the type certificate data sheet for the
Uh,
Stallhorn for the
okay.
Cessna 172. Yeah. So have you looked at it's like a couple pages or I think like 14 pages maybe the type certificate data sheet
No, but I've
in front
seen
of
the
you?
website. You look up the specific, like it would be 46119.
No, it would be by serial number.
Okay.
Yeah, but if you you could just search for the type certificate data sheet on it. It's not like specific to the aircraft necessarily.
Okay.
You can just get it off the internet. But I
Okay.
take a look at that maybe today or tomorrow.
Mhm.
Good to at least be familiar with. But it's a lot of it's not applicable to, so just look at the model and serial number to see what's actually applicable. But that's a good kind of trick question or way to make your students aware they need to
Okay,
check the type certificate data sheet. Yeah.
for sure.
Okay. Cool. What's the difference between a 100 hour and an annual?
Who can operate it and how often it is. So an inspection authorized A&P can do the annual, and then any A&P can do the 100 hour. And the 100 hour is just if the aircraft's for hire and it's based on the TAC, and then the annual is just every 12 months.
Okay, nice. Can a 100 hour take place of an annual?
Um, no, but the other way around, yes.
Okay, cool. Let's see. Once you get your CFI, are you allowed to give dual instruction?
Yes.
Okay. To who in particular? Are there any limitations of who you could give instruction to?
So I can give it to anyone who's a student pilot or a private pilot going for commercial. I can only do it in single engine land, and any instrument foggle time um, would only work for the 3 hours for private students.
Okay, nice. Cool. And yeah, there's a definition of FAR-AM that says authorized instructor, and so that's basically what you're saying is qualified in the aircraft and category, class, and type. Okay,
Mhm.
nice. Okay. So when you get your instructor certificate, how will you renew it, and
So
how
it's
often?
how often? So there's new stuff now. Okay, I have a little sheet here. So there's no expiration dates, but I would just have to stay current. Um, by passing another instructor practical test or doing the whole 5 candidates indoors with at least an 80% pass rate recently, or one of the refresher courses as well would
Okay,
work.
nice. And do you know how long the new grace period is?
Uh, 3 months, but I can't
Mhm.
instruct during those 3 months.
Okay.
Ooh.
Uh,
It'll be a new number too, right? On Niagara, it said pending
It'll be
or
your commercial pilot certificate number. Yeah,
okay.
and then so like when you sign a logbook, you'll just write your number that you have already, and you'll write CFI. after it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So let's see. If you wanted to train somebody to do CFI initial, what additional experience would you have to have?
I have to be a CFI for at least 24 months, and or I could do a qualification training program.
Okay. I believe they just updated a new requirement with that as well, or a new ability to do that.
Okay.
If you're a gold seal and you've given 400 hours of dual, now you can also do it that way. So someone doesn't have to wait 2 years
Okay.
or
Cool.
do a approved course. That's a brand new change as well. So that just happened.
61, 193,
95.
95. Okay.
Very cool. So, I mean, theoretically, in 3, 4 months, if someone was really trucking along, they could potentially do that. But it's a lot of experience, a lot of check rides in a short period of time. So it's probably going to take people to get both of those still probably at least a year, even if they're being pretty active.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you know which method you're going to use for renewing your instructor certificate? Have you thought
Uh,
about that yet?
Not really. But I was thinking of the refresher course. That seems pretty
Mhm.
solid. If anything, the activity base with the whole pass rate, that seems hopeful.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to do it. Something that I recommend as well, if it works for you, is to do additional check rides as well. I think it's just a great way to continue growing and developing yourself as a pilot anyways. If you've got to do
Hmm.
something, you could just learn something new instead of just doing the same recurrent every 2 years. So
Yeah.
something to think about. But what is the ACS?
I like to think of it kind of like the rubric of what we're training towards and um, the standard that the DPE and the instructor will have for their students.
Okay, if you were gonna take a student through the ACS, what would be some important things in there to point out to them?
Um, I'd let them know which, for like ground reference maneuvers, it's like S turns around a point, or the rectangular course, just have that in mind for them. And then like commercial students, same thing, like chandels or lazy eights. I'd also let them know that like the top part, it kind of says how like the examiner has to use one or two of these knowledge tasks and then they can move on.
Mhm.
So like to use that to their advantage in a check ride. Um, but mainly the standards for each maneuver. And then for the ground stuff, the stuff I said before.
Okay, cool. Well, I would add one thing to that as well, the appendices.
Appendices.
Definitely show them the appendices. Yeah, it's gonna have kind of like the ground rules for the check ride.
Okay.
What are the levels of learning and what level are we trying to train our students to?
So there is remote understanding, the A, and then correlation, application and correlation,
Okay.
I believe. And we're aiming for I don't think that's right. I'm using the wrong acronym.
No, that's the right acronym. But it's not remote. It's rote, not remote.
Wrote,
Yeah.
okay.
Mm.
But we're mainly looking for understanding and correlation and applying what they know already to the airplane into different situations. So through like scenario types of questioning, we can figure out if they're doing or they're at that stage.
Okay. So what would be an example? Let's say you're doing the run up. Could you give me an example of a way you could kind of test your students' knowledge to see if it's rote or if it's maybe application correlation level?
Hmm. So I could use like the mag drop. I could for the rope part, it could be like what's our parameters for it, and
Mhm.
then have them like quiz them to see like okay, so what's making it drop, um, and then from there I could have question them on how the magnetos work, something like that, and then gear it towards like an emergency um
Cool.
scenario
Yeah.
like the AT is like why do you switch when you are testing the engine or trying to
Awesome.
restart.
Yeah, I really like that example. That's good. Okay. So levels of learning there, trying to get our students beyond rote. That's a good example. So let's see, what are some, when you're teaching a student, what would be some defense mechanisms that you might find?
Compensation could be one. Maybe their steep
Mhm.
turns were really good, but they're keep mentioning how their landings were perfect. Kind of looking at the positive while ignoring the criticism or critique.
Okay. What's one more?
Fantasy could be one.
Okay.
Just thinking about the future and how excited they are to be an airline pilot while they haven't even soloed or something like that.
Okay. Sweet. Good stuff there. What are some important components of a lesson plan?
The objective for sure.
Okay.
Um, Giving them kind of like a rundown, a little summary of what we're going to go over. Um, I can pull up a lesson plan to kind of guide me toward it, but the overview, what we're doing and why we're studying what we're
Mhm.
studying, and then having like an equipment list and my actions, the students' actions, and what I'm expecting from them as well.
Okay. Cool. I like that. I always really like having just my kind of organization, asking them at the end, do you have any questions? And then also assigning homework. It's something that if you're not really planning ahead of time, it can be easy to forget or it can be like just inconvenient to take the extra step to assign homework, but especially with the primary students, very important to assign them homework. Okay, I think we'll come back at the end and have you teach um, a lesson on one of the FOIs that we haven't done, but we'll press on for now.
Okay.
What class medical do you have?
I have a first class medical.
Okay, what class is required to be a private pilot?
They need at least a third class medical.
Okay, or what's the other thing they could do?
Basic med.
Okay, what about a commercial pilot?
They need at least a second class medical to exercise the privileges, but to take the um practical test, they need at least basic med.
Okay, for your medical, when does yours expire?
I got it at the end of December last year, so I have 60 months from there to exercise the third class privileges. But within the first year, I have, like the ATP privileges if I was at that point, but I'm not.
Okay, what is the kind of hypoxia you could get just from being up super high?
Hypoxic.
Hypoxia, and what are some common symptoms?
Euphoria, cyanosis, so blue fingertips, blue lips, um, poor judgment, vision could start to deteriorate and eventually passing out.
Okay. All right. What would you do if you were feeling hypoxic?
I would descend, and if I had oxygen, I would use it. I think those are my only options.
Okay. Have you ever actually experienced any amount of hypoxia?
I don't think so, but I've had like the little finger thing,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
it got low, like below
Okay.
90 at some point.
Below 90. Yeah. Yeah. The pulse oximeter.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool. What do drugs or alcohol or smoking, what do those do to our oxygen level?
Um, so it could lead to histotoxic hypoxia, so it would be lowered. Um, but yeah, you'd feel the same symptoms as hypoxia from it.
Okay. All right. So could you get hypoxia without leaving the ground?
I think so. I think so.
Yeah,
Mhm.
just probably not going to be compounded by being up high.
Yeah.
If you go skiing in Denver and have a lot to drink and a cigarette, you might be feeling it.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. What are some nighttime illusions, visual
Um,
illusions?
Autokinesis is one. Could happen when you're not near a city and there's just like a singular light. It could kind of feel like it's moving, and if you align yourself towards it, and it's all incorrect, you could get yourself into um, hazardous attitude. There's also the false horizon with like stars or maybe some clouds. Forgot the name of it, but it's like the black hole one where it's just a pit outside,
Mm.
just in general. You can
Okay.
think better than you actually are.
Okay. Yeah. The False Horizon one we had that a little bit flying over when we went from Indianapolis to Shannon, Ireland
Oh, dang.
yesterday. It was a cloud layer that was like below us, but it was above the horizon and it was nighttime. And so you couldn't see the stars below a certain point, but it was because of the clouds, not because of the horizon. Good
That's cool.
visual illusion there. All right, let's see. Do you know what organ is the most sensitive to hypoxia?
Is it our eyes?
Yeah. Also, like if you're pulling G's, which is a form of stagnant hypoxia, right? It's pulling the blood out of your brain, and your vision will go before you'll pass out.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah,
didn't know.
yeah, yeah. It'll like start to get gray and fuzzy, and yeah, you'll still be conscious and you won't be able to see. But
Okay.
once that happens, you are very, very close to passing out.
It's like Top Gun, the
Yep.
scenes.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, there's people that die doing aerobatics and stuff because they induce it and they pull too hard and make themselves pass out and then they can't recover. Okay, let's do an endorsement scenario. So I am um I'm a student pilot and I need to do my local solos. You've already given me my TSA endorsement. You got me my student pilot certificate and I've got my medical,
Mhm.
but we've done the training. So what endorsements would you give me to solo?
I would give you the endorsement stating that we've gone through all of the pre-solo training. It's like 6187B. I no, that's C. Um, the one that we went through a knowledge test, and the 90-day, um, within the last 90 days, you got training as well.
Okay, nice. Um, Good. And what things need to be written underneath the endorsements, all three of those endorsements to make them legal?
Um, my name, my CFI number, and
Mm.
is it the date?
Yeah, that's three, so one more.
Oh, the name of the student, full name.
No, that's going to be in the endorsement.
Okay. Dang, I was.
When you said the date, were you talking about the date of the endorsement or the expiration date?
Oh, okay.
There's the two dates there,
2 dates. Okay, two
yeah.
dates and then certificate number.
Yep. Yeah, and
Okay.
for me, because you're writing two dates, I don't want there to be confusion about which date is which. So on the logbook entry, I won't do this. I'll just do the two digits slash two digits. But on an endorsement, I'll write EXP and then the expiration digits. With the way it's changing now, you're not necessarily writing the expiration, but you're writing when your currency goes
Mhm.
out. So a little bit different, but basically the same thing.